Hi guys, welcome to a new episode of your IGCSE Tutors. Today, I will be discussing this Cambridge IGCSE Economics Paper 2 Section B. Question 2a. Identify two influences on the mobility of labor. So there are two main types of mobility. First is geographical, second one is occupational. So from these two different types, you can think of different factors. There are four. First, family ties, age, qualification, skills, distance to place to work, and many more. So you can select two and write it. Question B. Explain two benefits that consumers may gain from having more commercial banks. So commercial banks are those banks that provide services to consumers. Alright. So first, consumers can obtain a lower interest rate due to the high competition in the banking industry. For example, now consumers can borrow a loan with lower interest rate, which reduces their financial burden and overall cost of living. Secondly, consumers may have more choice by selecting the bank that gives better services. For example, some banks may give better credit card reward systems and personalized banking solutions that suit their needs. So you can always give examples as a further explanation. Alright. C. Analyze why women may be paid less than men. So for this question, it's a general question in my opinion. So you can just give your own opinion. So first, a woman may have less skills or qualifications than men. In some developing countries, women often face limited access to education, which can result in lower productivity and reduced bargaining power in the job market. So, by saying reducing bargaining power, this means that because they don't have enough skills, if they want to, for example, bargain for a higher salary, they will be less likely to succeed. Yeah. And second, women may have fewer opportunities for promotion. Employers may assume that women will eventually need to take time off work to give birth or care for their children, which can lead to fewer promotions and lower salaries over time. Third, workplace discrimination. In societies, companies with more conservative cultures, women may face biases that underestimate their abilities, making it less likely for them to be offered leadership roles or higher pay. So this means that they may be less likely to get manager roles. Yeah, they were more likely to stay at their current position, which gives them the same salary. So for this kind of questions, just use your common sense and some logical reasoning. Question D. Discuss whether or not people living in countries with a high GDP enjoy higher living standards than people in countries with a low GDP. So here you need to make the comparison. So for yes, the first point you can say is that when people have higher national income, so they are more able to purchase goods or services of better quality. People may have access to better healthcare, which can lead to more effective treatments and longer life expectancy. So this is very true because we can see that in developed countries, their healthcare is often better. So second point, higher GDP enable better education opportunities. Higher qualification allows individuals to secure higher paying jobs with better working conditions. So give an example. Instead of working in factories, more individuals can work in office. So they have a better working condition. So why no? First, so we can explain country with higher GDP first. Their cost of living increases as the city is densely populated. the housing cost increases in the city due to demand pull inflation. So people may be forced to live in smaller homes or spend more on basic necessities, which can reduce their standard of living. So example that I can think of is Hong Kong. So Hong Kong has small land and then a lot of people living in the city. They cram into like buildings. So you can say, and their housing cost is really high. You can talk about the cost of living increase, but their standard of living is not that high. Second point, you explain the country with lower GDP. So they often, not always, but they often have cleaner environment. So less developed countries experience low levels of pollution and congestion. So there are fewer external costs and higher standard of living. Okay. And you can also talk about because it's undeveloped, so there are more greeneries, more lands. So the air will be fresher and something like that. You can talk about there's still some form of nature which is beneficial for the health of people. There are less pollution as well. Okay, moving on to question 3. 3A. Identify who allocates resources in a mixed economic system. So when you see mixed, there are only two. First one is government, second one is private firms. So for government, they can also be state-owned firms, who provide maybe they build roads, build highways, build infrastructure to provide they mainly provide public services. Okay. Question B. Explain 2 benefits a firm may gain from an increase in the size of the country's population. So talk about benefits. First one, obviously, when population increases, there's higher demand of goods. So firms earn higher revenue because there's a larger market size. So there are growing population increases number of potential customer, higher demand for goods and services. So this growth in revenue allows firms to reinvest profits into acquiring new machinery or expanding operations. So not only you need to state there's a growth in revenue, you need to explain what is the effect of it. The effect is that they can use this profit to reinvest into the business again and grow even larger. And second point is economies of scale and lower average cost of production. So when a larger population, firms, they can produce in bulk. In bulk just means that you can produce in a lot more outputs in one go. So this reduces the cost of raw materials through bulk purchases. An example is that when you purchase a lot of raw materials from a supplier, sometimes the supplier will give you bulk discount. So this reduces the firm's average production cost. When your cost reduces and your selling price still remain the same, your firm's profitability will increase, and as well as competitiveness. Question C. Analyze the reasons why governments aim for stable prices. So you need to state 3 reasons and 3 explanations. First is it can reduce inflationary pressure. Stable prices ensure that goods and services remain affordable, reduces the cost of living for people. So it can also help local goods remain competitive in global markets, increasing exports and reducing current account deficit. Reduce current account deficits just means that you reduce import expenditure and increase export revenue, which is stated here. Second point, boost consumer confidence. When prices are stable, consumers feel more secure and more likely to spend on goods and services rather than saving excessively. So increased consumer spending can stimulate economic growth. Yeah, so generally consumers need to have the confidence to spend on goods and services. Otherwise, they may fear that, if they buy, they are going to spend a lot of money, which is not worth it. Right. Third, attract foreign investment. Stable prices create certainty for MNCs, encouraging them to invest in the country. This will increase foreign investment, and when they set up factories in the country, foreign firms set up factory in the countries, you can generate more job opportunities and improve the employment rate. So this makes sense because foreign firms, they want to invest in a stable economy, where stable economy, an example is that they have fixed interest rates and stable inflation. They don't want to invest a country that have like 200% of inflation, because this is very unstable and risky for their business. Moving on, question D. Discuss whether or not the global economy would benefit from an increase in air travel. So it's the airplane industry. First one, you discuss about it is beneficial. First is that there's growth in related industries such as tourism. I think we should state the point 2 first. Talk about the air travel industry. So there will be increased revenue. And then you can give examples like airlines and airplane manufacturers. They can benefit from higher demand, leading to increased revenue and profit margins. These profits can be reinvested in R&D to improve airplane quality and services, helping firms to maintain competitiveness in the global market. So when we say this increased competitiveness, just means that they can compete with other firms because they have like higher quality of products or services. And the second point can state that there's growth in related industry such as tourism. So stable prices make it more convenient for people to travel internationally, boosting the tourism industry. This also creates job opportunities in hotels, restaurants, and local attractions, contributing to GDP growth. Moving on to why is it not beneficial? So first one, when you increase air travel, there will increase environmental problems, such as higher greenhouse gas emissions, because we know that air travel, they use a lot of fuels, so they will release those toxic gas, which is bad for our environment, and can say they contribute to climate change, which increases external costs to the global economy as a whole. Second point, you will reduce demand in other forms of transport, for example, train or shipping. So as more people choose air travel, fewer rely on transport like shipping. This can lead to structural unemployment for workers in those sectors. So remember, structural unemployment is due to the fall in demand of the products in a specific industry. So it may also harm economies that depend heavily on shipping for trade. Yeah, this is an example you can give. Or you want to say train also can. 4A. Define tertiary sector using an example apart from healthcare. Tertiary sector is a sector responsible for providing services. For example, education. Question B. Explain the difference between a private benefit and an external benefit of healthcare. So remember, it's specifically referring to healthcare, so you need to use example in healthcare. So first one, private benefit is the benefit gained by individual consuming the good or service. For example, a person receiving medical treatment can improve their own health and life expectancy. So it's the private their own benefit gained by the person consumed. So external benefit is the benefit gained by a third party when a person consumes the good or service. For example, when a person receives vaccine injection, they will less likely transmit disease to others around them. So in a way, they also protect others, right? In the example is in during COVID-19, so a lot of government around the world, they encourage people to get vaccinated so that they can reach herd immunity about like 80% so that they can protect the whole population and reduce the transmission of virus. Question 4C. Analyze why a government may prevent a horizontal merger. First reason is to avoid the creation of monopoly. So we can talk about what is bad about monopoly. It may abuse its market power to charge higher price, so this makes goods and services less affordable for consumers. Make it more expensive, basically. Second reason, government wants to encourage competitions between firms. So in a highly competitive market, firms have the incentive to improve its quality of goods. This benefits consumers because it can provide better quality products which improve their standard of living. Third is to prevent the reduction of suppliers. Horizontal merger could reduce the number of suppliers in the market. By preventing this, consumers are ensured a variety of choices and are not forced to buy goods that may not meet their standards. Question 4D. Discuss whether or not a foreign multinational company, MNC, will continue to produce in a host country for many years. So host country is the country that MNC, a foreign country that MNC invests in. So home country is where the MNC comes from. Host country is another country that they invest in. First one, they have skilled and experienced labor. And since MNC is there for many years, the worker already gained skills and the training that needed so they can increase productivity and output. So this allows MNC to benefit from economies of scale, lowering its average production costs. Second is that the government in a host country will give subsidies for MNCs. Host countries may offer subsidy like cheaper land or tax benefits to retain MNC investment, so to attract them to continue to stay longer to invest in the country. The cost savings enable MNCs to reinvest in expanding operations within the country. And why is it no? First reason is that depletion of natural resources. So in host countries, the natural resources may get used up already. So MNC need to relocate to another country with more resources to sustain their production. And second reason is that in other countries, the production cost may be lower. So a reason may be they have cheaper labor or cheaper raw materials. So the relocation can ensure a higher profit margins and cost efficiency for the company. So MNC always want to keep their costs low so that they can remain competitive in the global market. Alright, so question 5A. Identify how the effect of a fall in the price of gold would be shown on the demand curve for gold. So this one, initially it's a bit confusing because you may not sure what it wants. So basically, if you see there's a fall in price of gold, when there's a price factor, immediately you must think of movement of demand curve. But if it is a non-price factor, example is like, there's an increase in consumers' income, So what's the effect on the demand curve? It's the shift in demand curve. So what's the difference? Movement of demand curve is either you move up we call contraction, and move down we call extension. So in this case, because it says that there's a fall in price, so you can see there's an extension. Okay. Alright, but if it's a non-price factor, it will there will be two demand curve. So it's when it's increase in demand, you will shift right, and if it's a decrease, then you will shift left. Okay. 5B. Explain two disadvantages of a recession. First is that there will be increased unemployment. So without income, people cannot afford basic necessities, reducing their standard of living, and they may also fall into poverty. So when this case happens, governments need to allocate more funds to unemployment benefits. So this in turn increases the burden on the government expenditure. Second is that they will reduce demand and firm revenue. Falling consumer demand lowers the firm's revenue, creating cash flow issues. So when firms face financial difficulties, they may need to shut down because they cannot cover their operating costs. For example, they cannot pay their rent, they cannot pay the worker salary. So naturally, the business cannot sustain. Question C. Analyze why a country may demand more imports. So they buy more goods or services from another country. Why? First one, the import goods has higher quality. So compared to domestically produced item, this can fulfill consumers' demand, hence increasing import. So for example, we may demand a better phone, like we import iPhone from US, because we think that the phone quality is better, and this can satisfy our own wants. Yeah. And second one is rising income and purchasing power. So as income increases, consumers, they have greater purchasing power and demand for a wider variety of goods. So imports become essential for goods that the country cannot produce efficiently, often due to specialization. For example, so Singapore may not have enough adequate land to grow crops or grow rice, so they will import more from Malaysia, for example. Reason 3 is that there's a reduction in trade restrictions. The government will remove trade barriers to encourage international trade and increase import demand. For example, there will be lower tariff. This makes foreign goods cheaper to import. So tariff is the tax on import goods. When your tariff reduces, your import goods become cheaper. So there will be higher demand for import goods. Okay, question 5D. Discuss whether or not fiscal policy can achieve full employment. So when you see fiscal policy, it's only talking about tax and government expenditure. Okay, so first, then it's when you say why it might achieve full employment, you just need to surround these two main ideas. You need to know that what can achieve full employment. So you need to have increase in demand, right? So in order to have increase in demand, you need to reduce tax. Okay, so you can encourage investment, encourage consumption, and also increase government spending. Okay, so that you can increase the demand in the economy. Sorry, it's the total demand. So first one, talk about tax cut. They can increase consumer spending. Lower tax mean people have more disposable income. This increase the spending on goods and services. As demand increases, Businesses need to respond to it by expanding its operation, such as hiring more workers. So this can increase the job opportunity and reduce cyclical unemployment. Second one, training programs to improve skills. Government can invest in education and training to help workers gain skills for available jobs. So this reduces unemployment caused by a mismatch between jobs and worker skills. So for example, a worker is trained to produce clothes, but if in a market there are a lot of vacancy for let's say accountant, there has been a mismatch, because if you allocate the worker who produces clothes to become an accountant, this is not possible, right? So this is a mismatch of jobs, yeah, and worker skills. So you need to provide training for them to gain the skills before that they can take on the jobs. So why it might not? First one is due to the labor immobility, which limits the effectiveness. First is that workers may not relocate from rural to urban areas due to high housing costs or due to family ties. Second is that they lack the skills needed for certain jobs. So even if there is an increase in demand, unemployment issues still remain because workers cannot relocate easily. Second, low consumer and business confidence limits the effectiveness. If consumers and businesses lack confidence in the economy, they may save or reduce investment despite tax cuts or increased government spending. So you may question, why is there a lack of confidence? This can be due to high inflation in the previous quarters. So people, they are not willing to risk and spend as much as before. So this limits the impact of fiscal policy on boosting demand and job creation, especially in times of uncertainty or recession. So during recession, people will tend to save more than spend. And that's all for today. Hope you can understand all the explanation, and please comment down below if you have any past year question that you want me to solve. So please like, share and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.